Hopefully everybody can see my screen at this moment. The first thing that I do with all of my trainings is direct you all to the KTS Data Exchange webpage and kind of go over what all is included in this webpage and what information you can get from this, um, and then we'll just kind of go from there. So, just a little bit of background. The KTS Data Exchange is actually a secure transfer of data between the student's high school and their technical school database. And about 7 or 8 years ago, Kentucky Department of Education found that it was difficult for technical schools to be able to function properly and safely without the student data that they really needed. It's especially since they were in independent buildings and away from their high schools. So what was happening is schools were sharing data, but often they were sharing data in an unsecured manner that was violating FERPA laws. And then the double data entry that was occurring as a result um, resulted in incorrect data and things like that. So that's why that's how the KTS Data Exchange really came about. Um, and I just want to let you all know KTS Data Exchange is not without its faults. It has a lot of drawbacks, but it has really evolved over the past 7 or 8 years. And it is definitely serving its purpose. It definitely has its benefits. So what we're going to talk about today is how to properly set things up in your technical school side database in order to allow this KTS Data Exchange program to function properly. Okay, so like I said, I like to start off by directing you all to the Kentucky Department of Education website where we can actually go and find the KTS Data Exchange webpage. So you can always Google Kentucky Department of Education. Once you get to the homepage, you can go through district school support to locate the KTS Data Exchange webpage, but the easier way I found is to just go in the top right corner and type in the search box KTS Data Exchange. And then we're going to search. And the top result that comes up is typically the page that you want to click on. So you'll just click on that page. It's going to take you to the KTS Data Exchange webpage. And from here, you can bookmark it, add it to your favorites, however you need to get back to this so you can get the information. The information can be at your fingertips. Okay. Going down the middle, once again, talking about what the KTS Data Exchange actually is. Giving you an overview. And then also in the middle, under recorded trainings, there is a direct link to my YouTube channel where I house recorded trainings. Any trainings that have been successfully recorded and processed, I will add to this YouTube channel. So you can go back and look at those on your own time. And then Infinite Campus also offers documentation, training, and how-to videos, but not specifically for the KTS Data Exchange. They offer it for Infinite Campus. So you can always feel free to utilize Infinite Campus's resources when it comes to learning about Infinite Campus itself. But as far as the KTS Data Exchange goes, you'll get your trainings directly from me and the YouTube channel here. Okay, going back up the page on the right-hand side, we're going to start under the System Administrator Setup heading. Okay, and since this session is specifically for brand new principals, technical school principals, I'm going to kind of go through each of these documents carefully. So the first document I'm going to show is the data flow document. And this one, yes.
Is everybody on here a technical school principal, or is it just a mix?
We actually have a brand new technical school principal that's on here. Her name's Dana Crawford. She's Four Rivers Career Technical School. And then Kim Colson is her administrative assistant.
Oh, okay. Well, I've got my administrative assistant here as well. She just never got the email, so I've got her sitting beside me. So, and I'm
Oh,
sorry for butting into the
no,
conversation. I just didn't know.
no, you're fine, Coy. What is her name?
Amy Schoenthaler.
Yeah, you sent me the email. Okay. Yeah, I mean it's perfectly fine for her to join sitting next to you. That's okay. I need to get her into the Infinite Campus database. So we'll work on that afterwards.
Okay.
But yeah, it's okay.
So,
All
so
right.
me and Kim are both brand new then.
You and or are you talking about Dana and Kim? Is that what you're
Yeah.
asking? Yeah, Dana is brand new. Kim has been with Four Rivers for. Were you there last? You were there last year and year before, or just last year, Kim? I can't remember. I don't know if she hears me. But yeah.
She may not have where her mic can turn on. This is Dana. Kim was here the previous 2 years.
Yeah, 2 years. I thought so.
Yeah, this is my first year.
Yeah. And so I encourage if you guys want to exchange contact information, Coy and Dana, if you all want to exchange contact information so you all can bounce things off of each other and stuff as you all learn all of this, I encourage that.
Okay.
Feel free.
Sorry, I'll drop my email in the chat.
Okay.
What'd she say?
She's going to drop her email in the chat.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay. So, the KTS Data Exchange, the way that this just kind of visually shows how the data flows. The data flows from the home high school in what the technical school will receive: demographic data, enrollment information, schedule information, but then there's a lot of other information that has been added over the years. Special education, free and reduced lunch, gifted and talented, 504, certain or health data, health and immunization data should be syncing also. And I believe, well, definitely certain state-owned flags will sync with the student, specifically like legal flags or health flags, things like that. And so there's also, you'll notice it says a real-time attendance report. And that does not mean that attendance syncs from the high school to the technical school. That just means there is a report available, that a live report that can be run on either the high school side or the technical school side in order to see what that real-time attendance is in either school. And I'll kind of show you where all of that is in a little bit. Back from the technical school, what syncs back to the high school is posted grades. And once again, the real-time attendance reporting is available. There is another tool that can be used. It's an optional tool that allows unknown attendance to sync from the technical school to the high school, but it has to be turned on at the high school side. It has to be an option that the high school decides that they want that unknown attendance to sync to them. So that's another conversation that we can have at another training. But for right now, This is just kind of telling you how the data flows back and to each school. Okay, so then the next document that I want to look over is the course creation flowchart. And the courses are actually a huge component of the KTS Data Exchange. The data that syncs to and from is connected through the courses, actually. And how the KTS Data Exchange begins, how it's initiated, is on the technical school side. It's when the technical school goes into their technical school database and they pull in a technical school course from a special catalog, and they set it up and they add sections. That's what starts the KTS Data Exchange. Each section that is added on the technical school side will independently become its own course on the high school side after the exchange happens. The KTS Data Exchange occurs on a nightly basis, 7 days a week. It starts around 10 o'clock a.m. It's 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern time, and it goes on till around 5 o'clock the next morning. So what happens is when the technical school pulls in a course master and creates its sections, it kind of triggers that KTS Data Exchange that night to say, hey, I've got something new here that I need to sync over to the high school. So it grabs this section and it syncs it over to the high school's database, and it puts it in a special catalog for the high schools. Then it's up to the high school to follow the directions and pull that course in on their side and set it up correctly. Briefly, how the high school does that is they will pull the course in, and it turns, like I said, each section on the technical school side turns into its own independent course master. So on the high school side, they'll pull in that course master, and it turns into a 13-digit course code. And I'll go over that in just a second. And then from there, the high school will add one section per course so they can roster students into that section. The students that are rostered into that section then that night will sync back to the technical schools database into the corresponding section. And then when the students sync back to this section, along with that comes the student demographic information, all of their, what I just said earlier, all of their information that you need on the technical school side to operate independently and securely with your students. Do you all have any questions about the course creation flow? We're kind of going to open up the database in a little bit, and I'm going to kind of show you visually what that looks like. But any questions right now at this moment?
Tanya, this is Kim. The only thing that it's not really about this, but I've been trying to edit a bunch of my courses and do a bunch of on my sections, and I am not allowed to. It won't let me save any changes, and it will not let me make any courses active. So I think my rights have somehow fallen off.
Okay, so which account are you logging into? Are you logging?
My regular one.
Okay, so that's why. Just to let you know, and you probably didn't know. This was probably something that was never brought to your attention. So every year around November, December, I have a scheduled prep session with all the principals and any administrative assistants that want to be involved and their high school contacts. And this is where you plan for the new school year. Okay. Mm-hmm. So then everybody tells me what their new calendar is going to be set up like, and I work on creating those, and I do that usually in January, February timeframe. At that time, when I create your new year schedule, I email the principal and let them know that their calendar has been created, and I give them a separate login account, a separate user account. That
Okay.
separate user account is specifically for the new school year. So you have your, for example, you have your Kim Colson account, Kim.Colson account, and that's for the 2021 school year. But then in January, February, I create a Kim.Colson2 account, and that one would have your the ability to modify the 21-22 school year. And so whenever I do that, I have to turn off the ability in the current school year to create brand new courses because there's a conflict in rights when when you can't do that the way that it's set
Okay.
up. So long story, and I just wanted to explain this to all of you all because you all are going to end up having two accounts. So we're starting the school year, the 21-22 school year, and everybody should be back into their regular accounts now. But I have to go look at your rights, Kim. I may not have updated your rights. So I'll make a note and go look at that after we do our session.
So
Uh-huh.
I am supposed to be using my regular login at this point.
At this point, yes.
Okay. I knew that you give us the, the Kim dot, the second one. But
Oh, you knew that. Okay.
I just didn't know. I'm in my regular one. And when I transferred, I guess just let me know when you look and see what's going on.
I'll have to go look at your rights after I have a session after this too. So it'll be later on this afternoon. I'll have to look at your rights, but I guarantee you that's probably what it is. It's just a right, something I need to go in and update or whatever.
Okay.
But yeah, so so after January 1st, your regular account comes back into effect for the upcoming school year. And so that should allow you to go in and update courses and add courses and all that kind of stuff. So I'll make sure that I'll check that for you. But
Thank you.
yeah.
So can we do it under my account right now? So I should have access to do that, correct?
You should. Yeah, you should. I believe I have given you your account, haven't I?
Yes, ma'am. I'm in.
Everything runs together for me. I'm
I
sorry.
think I have mine.
Okay.
I'll say
Yeah,
that.
you should be able to, but yeah, I definitely need to check on Kim's because everybody should use their own independent account, for
Right.
FERPA reasons and stuff. But yeah, I'll make sure that I check on it for Kim. Good questions though. Anybody have any other questions about the course creation flow, how that works? Okay. All right. So going back to the KTS Data Exchange webpage, the next document I'm going to open is the KTS Technical School ID numbers. Okay. Every technical school has their own unique ID. And so, Coy, which ATC are you in now? I forget. I apologize.
I'm at Estill County.
Estill. Okay. So Estill is not on this list yet, but your number is 60. So I have to go in here and update Estill. But your tech ID number is going to be 60. That's important for you to know, and it's important for all your people at the high schools who are going to be scheduling to know that number. And then, of course,
do I just call?
for
So what's the title of that number? Do I just say that's my tech ID number?
Yeah, it's your tech ID number, but I'm going to tell you in just a minute how important it is and where they're going to see this number in just a few minutes.
Okay.
So, and then Four Rivers, yours is 17. So the significance of this number is, for example, you have Estill County High School trying to send you students, and they need to pull in the courses that start with 6-0. If they pull in a course that starts with 5-9, they're sending their student demographic information to iLead Academy. And they don't want to do that. So they have to make sure that they send that whenever the high school people pull in their courses, that they only pull in their the courses that start with 6-0. Now, I conducted a high school training yesterday, but I will be conducting another one in a couple of weeks. I would highly suggest that you forward them that link that I sent you, Coy, so they can sign up for the new high school scheduler training.
Okay, for both feeder schools?
Yes, for both feeder schools, because if they don't go through this training, it will be very challenging. And I know Kim can attest to that, because we've had to, over the past couple of years, we've had to help her high school people a lot. And so going to this training, I think yesterday they were in that training, and I feel like it really helped them a lot. What do you think, Kim?
And this is the Google Doc, right? The Google Doc link?
The Google form,
Okay.
that's it. So, yes, they really need to, it's important for them to attend that training. Okay, so just so you know, but if you forget what your tech ID number is, you can always refer back to it. The KTS Tech School ID number is right here. And like I said, I'll update Estill on there as soon as I can. So I'm going to explain those course codes, and I'm going now to the explanation of course codes document here. And this document just breaks that 13-digit course code down that the high schools receive. So remember, I said earlier in this course creation flow chart that when your section syncs over to the high school, it turns into its own independent course master. And in the process of that, the KTS Data Exchange adds a prefix and some suffixes to that course code to create a unique 13-digit course number. And this is, every 13-digit course code number is unique. There's not a duplicate out there. So this 13-digit number is actually comprised of 5 different segments. And I'm going to go over those segments. The first 2 numbers, like we just talked about, is the tech ID number. So for Estill, that's going to be 6-0. So any courses that you see that say 6-0 on the high school side, that's going to be for Estill County. Okay, and then same thing for 4 Rivers. I think I said it was 17. So whatever number you see here in the very beginning, that stakes claim to that course master for that specific technical school. The second segment of numbers is the 6-digit state course code. So when you on the technical school side pull your course in and create your course, it comes with a 6-digit state course code. That 6-digit state course code gets inserted into the second segment on the high school side whenever the high school sees that course master that populates over there on that side. The third segment is actually called a course indicator. So let me explain the course indicator. It's really simple. You'll either see a P or an X. And the significance of them is that it just offers more variability for you guys on the technical side to be able to schedule. On the high school side, if you came from the high school, you can pull in and use, for example, let's say English 9. You could use English 9 course and from the course master multiple times. If you needed to create 5 English 9 courses, separate courses, and set them up correctly, you could do that, because it's not going to it's not going to make a difference. It's not going to bother anything. But on the technical school side, because each course has to be independent and different, you can't use a course master more than one time. You can add sections to it, but you can't use a course master more than one time. So we decided to try to figure out a way to offer you guys on the technical school side more variability when it came to scheduling. Is this class going to be a block class? Is this class going to be, is maybe the P class is going to be dual credit and the X class is going to be the regular, or maybe the P class is going to be the P course is going to be a block course and the X course is going to be a year-long course. There are different ways that you can do that. So if you see
Tanya,
it,
I have a question. So
sure.
in my situation right now, they're only want me to do the basic courses. And
Yeah.
so I've got 3 blocks in the fall. Well, like let's say for diesel, those 3 courses are all going to be the same. So I understand it will be 3 different sections of the same course, correct?
Right. So you can just pull your P course in.
Okay.
Yeah, you would just pull your P course in and add your 3 sections to that
And then
course.
do I choose those numbers or do they automatically get generated?
So you will reference, that's a good question too. Let me go back over to the
Program
Kentucky.
studies?
Yeah, did you get the program of studies document?
Yeah, I've got the program studies. I've actually got that pulled up. So like, for example,
Okay.
hang on, and I'll jump to one because I was going through it, and we can kind of look at it, and I'll make sure that we're all following the same path. Well, that I'm understanding. Hang on one second, and I will jump to this page.
And just so you know what we're talking about, Dana, and I'm sure you already know, but just to make sure, he's talking about the program of studies document that is released by the Office of Career and Tech Ed. This is a copy of it. I'm going to copy and paste the link into the chat so you can get to it. But all of your courses that you pull in and create on the technical school side have to be valid courses that are in this program of studies document.
Yes, I have that. I actually am fortunate because when I was I was a supervisor of instruction in a district
Yes,
before
ma'am.
I came over here. So I did our pathways over there. So I'm familiar with that. And so I've actually our master schedule for Four Rivers is complete. Kim and I are actually working on putting it in today.
Awesome. That's really, really awesome.
So if we go the same page, if you want to jump on the program of studies, Tanya, and go to page, well, the correct page number is 981, but I think when you pull it up on there, it shows up as 983 out of 1,057.
Okay.
So that, okay. So, this year I'm going to have 3 sections of that section A. So that 6-digit course code, that's my at the beginning, that is my 6-digit course code, correct? 470450.
That is correct. So here's how you would do that, and I'm going to show you real quick. I'm going to go into the Sandbox site and do this because I don't want to mess up live data. But what I would do is, first of all, you would go to scheduling.
Okay.
Add course. And actually, let me make sure I'm in the correct catalog because I'm not in the correct catalog right now because I'm using this as a testing site. Let me go to the right school. Okay. So you would go to scheduling.
If you want to change Gryffindor to Estill, I mean, we would be more than ecstatic about that.
Well, this is a Sandbox testing site. So
I know, I'm just teasing.
Whatever I do, whatever I do here is definitely not going to go into Estill. But so you would do scheduling, add course, and then you would come over here and look for what I would do is I'll just click inside here and I'll start typing 470 450, and when I do that, it brings my cursor down to the course.
Okay.
And what I'm going over through here, guys, is I am now on the KTS Course Setup Guide for Technical Schools. This is the process of pulling in a course, a brand new course, into your technical school database. So I have this course highlighted, and if you notice, I've got 470 450, and I have 470 450X.
And then the X will be if I make it a dual credit, if I make it a full year instead of a block. That's
yes, where yes. But I'm only going to pull in this 470 450. When I pull this in, I'm going to hit Select Course Master. I'm going to make sure that everything is set up the way that I need it to be set up for my school here. If it's a dual credit course, this is where you would change your naming convention. You would update your difficulty level, excuse me, difficulty level. You would update your teaching method, so on and so forth. And then
do I put the teacher's name in there and everything too?
Not at this point. So at this point, what we'll do is we'll save it. Okay. And just for reference, before we go back, I'm going to go back to add course, scheduling add course. Now I'm going to go in here and I'm going to type in 470 450. So now what I'm looking at is 470 450 is no longer showing up in here now.
Okay.
That's because I've pulled it in here. So now when I go over here and do a search, 470 450, it's going to show up and it's ready for me to set up. What happens is when you pull it into your school, it disappears from the view there. So if you're ever looking for a course and you can't see it and it's not showing up, always go over here and do a search for course section to see if it's already sitting in there. It might already be being used or whatever, but check to see if it's over here. Okay, so now we got our course pulled in. So at this point, we now need to add our sections. So I'm going to click on my sections tab and I'm going to add my first section. And I'm going to give it an arbitrary number, whichever number I want to give it. So you have to fill in any field that is red. So we have to designate if whoever's teaching it is highly qualified or whatever. And then we're going to scroll down and we're going to select the period location in which this course is going to be. So your first section, which period is it going to be?
Well, so what do I do there where it's like a block period? Would it be the equivalent of like the home high schools periods?
No, yours. So
See, I'm only going to have 3 blocks for the day. So would it be just period 1?
Yeah. So we would do period 1. Is it going to be all day?
Yeah.
So obviously this period schedule is different because this is Gryffindor's period schedule.
But then again, too, it wouldn't be quarter 3 and 4 if it changes at Christmas, right? Just quarter 1, 2. And it's
quarter 1, 2. Okay, so that's right. So we go quarter 1, quarter 2, period 1. Now we're going to hit create section. Now we're going to go back to the course and we're going to create our second section. And when's that one going to meet?
So it'd be second.
Okay. Same thing, quarter 1 and quarter 2, create section. And now we're going to go back to the course again and we're going to create our third section.
And it'd be third.
Okay. Okay. So now when I refresh, I hit go, I see all 3 of my sections listed here.
Okay.
I go back to my sections tab. I see right here, I've got 3 sections for this course. Okay, so my next step is to add my staff, go to my staff history tab. First, I'm going to go to the section. I'm going to go to the staff history tab, and I'm going to select new primary teacher. We don't want to select new teacher. We don't want to select new staff, section staff. I wish there was a way for me to X these out of here and but there's not a way. Always new primary teacher. So we're going to go new primary teacher. We're going to select whoever our teacher is. And then we are going to leave our start date and our end date blank. And leave the rest of this stuff blank. And then we're going to hit save. And then I'm going to hit refresh so you can see. Now we've got Deanna Anderson in there, and she's listed as the teacher of record for that section. We're going to go in there to the second section and do the same thing. I'm going to make this one William Greer, save. And then I'm going to go to the third section and add the primary teacher for that one. And Mr. Greer's teaching third as well. Save. Okay, so now I'm going to refresh, and now I've got all three of my sections, a staff history, actual teacher, primary teacher assigned to those courses. The next thing that I want to do is I'm going to click on the section. I'm going to go to my grading task tab now, and now I'm going to tell my grading this is the next part of it, and I feel like I'm overloading everybody, but this is how you would go through the process of creating a course. With the grading task, these have to be set up in order to allow the posted grade to sync from the technical school to the high school. If these aren't set up, then no grades will sync. You don't have to do these right away if you're just doing scheduling for scheduling purpose. But if you have to make a note that these have to be updated before school starts. If you don't update them before school starts, you won't have any grade. First of all, your teachers won't be able to manipulate their grade book. They won't be able to go in there and, add, set up their grade book or anything. They won't be able to post grades. Their grades won't sync, So just make yourself a note to go back if you're trying to really hurry and get your master schedule in there, that's fine. Just remember the grading task tab has to be set up. So to set that up, you start off with 3 grading tasks that are defaulted. The CTE term grade is like the in progress grading task. Don't be deceived by the name term grade. It's not really a term grade. It can be a term grade, but think of it more as an in progress grade. This is a snapshot that the teacher is going to give when they post that grade to the CTE term grade. They're giving a snapshot of what that grade book calculation is, and that snapshot is going to sync to the high school into their database, so they can use that to know how the student is progressing for athletic and activity eligibility and different things like that, for progress reports on their side. So that's what the CTE term grade should be considered for. It's an in-progress grade. Teachers should post to the CTE term grade at least once a week. If they're not posting to this term grade, they're not providing the high schools with a fresh grade. In a minute, I'm going to show you how you can find out if a teacher is posted or not. But okay, so we're going to set the CTE term grade up real quick. Excuse me. The grading task default to the CTE numeric score group. That's our score group that we use in our district. It's a numeric score group that calculates the score it assigns a score on the minimum value column of 0.5. So I'll show you what that looks like in just a minute. But we also have a CTE numeric weighted score group that we can use for dual credit classes, and we also have a CTE pass-fail score group for any courses that are just going to be a pass-fail. This SBG is actually used it's a standards-based grading concept. It's not a true standards-based grading, but it's that concept, and it's set up a lot different than these other courses, and this is actually only used by one school. So for the most part, you're only going to use the CTE numeric or the numeric weighted, but it defaults to the CTE numeric. Here in our district, in our school, we don't have to worry about term GPA. The CTE term grade, since it's an in-progress grade, we do not worry about adding a credit value or a credit type. It's unnecessary. What we do need to do is designate the term masks in which the terms in which this course is being offered. So going back over to the sections, we made sure that this course is actually meeting term 1 and term 2. So that's what I'm going to check for my term mask. I'm not going to check 3 or 4 because I don't have any sections meeting 3 and 4. So I've got term 1 and 2, and now I'm going to save that. And then I'll get this message that says you'll no longer receive updates from the course master. Do you want to continue? Okay. So that finishes that CTE term grade. The final exam is an optional grading task that you can use. If you configure a final exam grade in with your final grade, you can utilize this. If you don't, you can actually click on it and delete it out of there. And what that'll do is it just kind of cleans your grading task tab up so it doesn't have it just sitting in there. You can always pull it back in. You can add it. If you hit add, grading task, CTE final exam, and you would have to set it up accordingly. But I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to get rid of that CTE final exam at the moment because it's optional. The CTE final grade, this is the one where it's the end of the class and the kid is getting a final grade. And this is where we're going to award the credits. Some schools, some technical schools decide to award credit mid-year. That's fine. So if you were to award credit mid-year, you would add, if you ordered like a half a credit at the end of term 2 and at the end of term 4, that's fine. Some principals decide to do that to identify kids that are able to take into program testing and stuff like that. That's optional. That's something that you might want to discuss with your consultant, your regional consultant, to see if that's something that you might want to do. But for this example purposes, we're just going to say that for this class, we're going to award one full credit at the end of term 2, because remember, these sections are only meeting during term 1 and 2, and these kids get a full credit at the end of it. We also have to designate a credit type. So this is inspection, maintenance, and minor repair. Is this a construction class or an auto class?
It's a diesel class.
Diesel class, okay. So then we go automotive, vocational credit right here. So for the CTE final grade, you have to have a credit value entered and you have to have a credit type designated. If you don't, then the final grades will not post a transcript. The transcript post tool will overlook it. So we're going to save that. And then here we get this message again, no longer receive updates. Okay. And then that's what it should look like at this point. So the last step in setting this up is for you guys at the technical school to go to the grade calc options tab. So we're going to tell this database how we want this final grade, the CTE final grade, composited. We want it to be worth 50% of the CTE term grade for quarter 1. And we want it to be worth 50% of the term grade for quarter 2. And we can lock these if we want to. If we lock them, that means the teacher can't mess with them. That's up to you guys if you want to do it. The last thing we do after the composite is we have to tell the database how we want these grading tests to calculate the grades. We have to give it a calculation. So I'm going to do that really quickly by going to Fill Options. And I'm going to do this for all of my grading tasks. I'm going to select a Fill Calculation Type of In Progress Grade, and I'm going to select my grading scale of CTE grading scale. And then I have my other options here. If I want to select those, I can. If I, whatever, hit OK. And so what this does is it gives each grading task a calculator for your teacher. If they don't have a calculator, then the grades are not going to calculate correctly. And then we've got the composite. So now we're finished setting up the composite.
Now let me ask you,
yes.
let me ask you one thing.
Yes.
Like, so, and this could have been where I messed up as a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
If you scroll up just a little bit.
Sure.
Okay. So when I was here as a teacher and I was under the in progress and it's CT grading scale, I always clicked weight categories. And the reason is the different sections in my grade book, like I taught welding. So I had a lab component, I had a classroom component or classwork, and then I had like a leadership and employability skills, and I had those at different weights, like the lab grade weighed more than the classroom and some other stuff. Is it wrong that I clicked weight categories there, or is that the right thinking?
It's really up to you as a teacher. Now, I mean, if you want to do it as a principal and just blanket.
I don't know if I should even mention it. That's what I'm saying is I know what I did as a teacher, and I was going to, because I've got some brand new teachers coming on board. I mean, everybody's going to be brand new. So I was thinking, if I kind of had them across the board, so then I knew how they were grading and their styles of grading versus, hey, everybody's kind of doing their own thing. I just didn't know personally if that was the right way to do that weight categories or if I should have done a different way.
Okay, so it's really your decision, Coy, because I have several technical schools principals who decide not to bother with that and allow their teachers to set that up on their own and with their own preferences. Then I have some schools like Lake Cumberland ATC. I believe they're the ones that go through and they do kind of go through and set all of this up and for their teachers and limit what their teachers can change. This is how it's going to be scored and all that. So, I mean, it's really up to you how you want to do it. I'm not going to say any way is right or wrong.
Okay, that works.
Does that work? Okay. All right. So we're going to save that. And then the last thing that you do to set this course up, and this is so important, guys, you go back to course, and you have to push whatever changes you made out to your sections. If you don't push this out to your sections, it's not going to be pushed to the teacher's gradebook. Okay, so you'll see that after we have gone through and we've updated all of this stuff, we've got this pending grading setup changes are ready to be pushed to sections. We have this little warning. So there's two ways to do that. You can either, after you set up each course, you can go back to the course and push it to sections. So you would hit push to sections, and then you would just, I usually default all those checks and then hit push, and then that would finish it. Or you can you can wait until all of your courses are set up, completely set up. You can forget going to this course and pushing to sections and just do it all at the end at one time. So you do that by going to Index, Gradings and Standards, push all courses, not course masters, push all courses. So then when you do that, you can run this report right here showing the courses that are waiting to be pushed. And if you want to, or you can just simply hit submit to batch. And what that does is it pushes everything all at once. So you don't have to go back to this course button every time and push to sections. I'm going to go ahead and just, since we're just doing this one as an example, and just push. And so it tells me when I do that, the following sections have been updated for these teachers. Okay. And when I do that and it refreshes, you see that that notification is gone now. So just remember to always push that out to the sections. So that's the complete process of pulling in a brand new course. So once you have your sections now, it's time, you've got your course and your sections now. It is time to decipher what these 13-digit codes are going to be for your high school people. And we're going to do that in just a second. I'm going to need actually just about a 2-minute break so I can visit the ladies' room. So I'm going to put everybody on hold for just a second so I can go run and do that. And then if you guys need to go, you're invited to go as well. Just don't go to the same one at the same time. And and I'll meet you back here in about 2 or 3 minutes, okay? Okay. Hopefully everybody's back. We're going to go ahead and get started now so we can finish things up.
Hey, Tanya.
Yes.
If you don't mind, if you can hang on 1 second. I printed off some of these course codes so me and my admin assistant can look over them while we're doing this, but just give me 1 second and I'll go grab them off the printer.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry about that. Got everything.
Okay, that's fine. No problem. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to go over how to convert these into the 13-digit codes that the high schools are going to need to look for when they the KTS Data Exchange will run tonight. And these sections that I just created will sync over to the high school catalog. And then the high school will go in and pull those in and set them up on their side. Okay, so here's how I convert those. First of all, going back to the explanation of course codes, I think we got as far as the course indicator and then we kind of stopped, but I just want to let you know the last 4 digits, the first 2 of those is the period location of the course back at the technical school, and the last 2 is the section number. So that's how this unique 13-digit code gets created. So what I like to do is when I finish creating my course, I just pull up this, I go to the course and I go to the sections tab, and I'm just going to open up a blank Word document so I can show you how I do this. You can do it with pen and paper if you want. But I'm just going to put this down here. So what I'm doing, let's just say this Gryffindor's tech ID number is 60 for, it's Estill counties. So Gryffindor's is 60. So I know the first 2 numbers, if I go back over here to the course explanation, the first 2 numbers of all of my courses are going to start with 60. So going back over here, I know that these 3 sections are going to be 60, 60, 60. So I'm creating my sections now. Let me make this a little bigger so you guys can see it. Okay. So that's the first two numbers of my 13-digit codes. The second group of numbers, going back over here, is the state course code. So whatever the state course code, that's what goes in the second grouping. So I'm going to go back over here. Sorry. What the heck? Okay. So I know that the course number 470, 450, that's the actual course number that I'm working with. So I'm going to type that in for all three, 470, 450, 470, 450, because for all three sections, this is the same. So far right now, all three numbers look exactly the same. Okay, so I don't see an X. I did not pull the X course in. So if I didn't pull the X course in, that means that the course indicator, which is the next segment, is going to be P. So it's either going to be P or X. And there are exceptions to that, but only for academic dual credit classes. So if you're not concerned with academic dual credit at this moment, then you need to only just realize there's only the P or the X that will be inserted into that segment. So since I don't see an X at the end of the 6-digit state course code, then I know that my next segment is going to be a P all the way down. So we still have the same number all the way down for all three sections. This is where it starts getting different and unique. The next segment is your period number. So I've got this column right here that shows the first section meets period 1, the second section meets period 2, the third section meets period 3. So the period location in the course number is always 2 digits. So I know that for this first one here, it's going to be 01 to indicate that it's meeting during first period. The second one is going to be 02 to indicate it's meeting during second period. The third one is 03 to indicate it's meeting during third period. Okay, the last two numbers of this 13-digit code are the section numbers that's given. So for this first section, it's given a section number of 01. The second section is given a section number of 02. And the third section is given a number of 03. So these are the 13-digit unique course master numbers that are going to create tonight with the KTS Data Exchange for these three sections we just created. This is what we need to communicate to our high school people so they know which courses to look for and pull in. The reason why I have made it essential for the technical school people to decipher these codes and give them and supply them to their high school people is because early on, especially in the KTS Data Exchange project, there were a lot of problems with the high schools just pulling in whatever courses that they wanted to willy-nilly. They were just going into their course catalog and grabbing whatever they wanted. And as a result, they were sending their student data to the wrong technical schools. There was a lot of problems. So I have found that it has been successful that if we provide these 13-digit codes to our high school people, there is just no way, unless they don't set things up correctly, but there's no way they're going to pull in the wrong code, as long as they know how to read and they follow instructions and they use these numbers that you provide to them.
So quick question.
Yes.
So let's say, because this is my situation, I've got 3 blocks in the fall. So let's say, for example, that I added another section and it was just for that first period, the second semester. then my number then will be all of those except for 04 for the section because it's an extra section, and then 01 for first period of the second semester, correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Want to make sure.
Yes. So, and if you decided to go in and add another section, so we're going to add another section. We decided it's mid-year. We're going to add another section. We're going to call it section 4. Actually, I'm going to call this one section 2-4 because I want to indicate that this one is meeting during second term or second semester. So I'm going to call it 2-4, and that's just a little trick that I use sometimes. I play with these section numbers. Oh, that's another thing. Section numbers can only be 2 digits. If you put in a third digit, anything more than that, it'll let you do it, but it won't sync the course with the KTS Data Exchange. So just make sure no more than two numbers for your section number.
Would best case,
Mhm.
best practice, instead of just doing a regular 1, would it be just getting the best practice, putting a 01?
I wouldn't do that for, like, if you're just using one number for your section number, just use the one number. Don't put a 0 in front of it.
Okay.
Yeah, good question though. Okay, so I'm creating this section, and these kids are going to meet during quarter 3 and quarter 4 for period 1. So I'm going to create this section, and I'm going to go to my staff history tab and add my teacher. Okay, and I just thought of something. Here's my, okay, and so now I'm going to go decipher my course number real quick. So this one is actually going to be, like we talked about, 60470-450 P0124. Do you see that? 0124. And see how it's different from all the other ones. So what I've realized is I've got my number now, but what I've realized is the course itself, I haven't opened up my grading task for quarter 3 and quarter 4. So I got to go back in here and fix those and say, and open these up for my CTE term grade. And then I got to go to my final grade and say that the kids that are taking this course during quarter 3 and 4 will get a full credit at the end of term 4. Save. And then the last thing I'll do is go to my grade calc options. Yes.
But now, wouldn't you jump back? If we're adding this extra section, you had it check marked on term 1, 2, and 3, 4. So wouldn't it just be 3, 4 instead of having the 1, 2 in there?
No, we want to keep that because we've got all these other sections that met.
Oh, okay.
In the
I got
beginning
you.
of the year, you're right. They met in the beginning of the year for quarter 1 and 2. We don't want to uncheck those. We want to leave those the way that they are for the year. So yeah, we would leave the term 1 and 2, but we would add term 3 and 4 because we just added this section that's meeting term 3 and 4.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So even if you add a new section that's not meeting, then because there was a class on the front end of it, then you still have to check it.
Yep, we got to keep those in there because if you don't, you definitely don't want to uncheck these because then that will get rid of the grades.
Okay. That makes sense.
So now we got to make sure our final grade, the kids that take it for during quarter 3 and 4 will get a credit, 1 credit at the end of term 4. And so then the next thing we'll do is go to my grade calc options. Now that I've checked those boxes, now all of a sudden I have more grading tasks down here that need to be composited and calculated. So I'm going to make sure that I I composite my quarter 4 CT final grade, checking that box and saying that this one is worth 50% of the quarter 3 CTE term and 50% of the quarter 4 CTE term. and I'll lock that, and I'm not going to save it yet because now I have to make sure that my calculator is in there. You can go back up to the fill options if you want, but I'm just doing this real quick. You could do it here too. You got to make sure your calculator is in there. If you don't, then the grades won't calculate correctly. Okay, so now that's done. So now that I've made those modifications, I remember my very last thing that I have to do is go back to the course and push the changes that I made out to the sections. So I go to the course and I see now I have this notification telling me that I have this data sitting here. So I have to remember to push it out. And now I'm done. And now I will share these numbers with my high school so they can pull these numbers in on their side and roster the students. Once they roster students, then those students should start showing up in your database the next night.
Hi, Tanya. This is Kim. I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Under sections where it gives us the option to choose which period we put kids in, yeah, we have an 8th period, and it's not shown. It shows up in some section, and sometimes it doesn't. Is there a button that we're supposed to be pushing to give it that 8th period?
Ooh, okay. Let me take a look at that. That sounds a little weird. Okay. I'll have to log into our live site to check that out, and since I'm recording, I can't do that at the moment. Okay. So let me do that at the end.
Okay, that's fine.
If you want to stick around and watch, you can stick around and watch. That's fine. But before I leave here, are there any questions about how to create a brand new course and section and set it all up or anything? Remember that all of this information, all of the processes that I just went over can be found in the KTS Course Setup Guide for Technical Schools. And then we also have a KTS Grading Task Setup document that goes over how to actually set up the grading task tabs for every course. Remember, you got to set those up for every course. Don't use the copy button. You might be tempted to use a copy button and copy whatever you did out to your other courses. Don't do that. It will mess a lot of things up. I wish I could take some of these buttons off of here that you can't use to make it easier for you guys, but I don't have, there's no way that Infinite Campus has made it to where I can do that. And then also we've got the grade calc options setup document that I've got right here. Before we move on, I do want to point out that the Grade Sync Troubleshooting Guide is a very, very important guide to use when your high school contacts you and says, we're having problems with our grades, the grade syncing to our high school. This document, it's a 3-page document, and it walks you through the things that you need to do on your side and the high school needs to do on their side to troubleshoot and try to figure out where the issue is. So this is a very important document for you guys to always reference back to. Down through here, there's more. Special education record view for teachers. Your teachers will not be able to see special education records unless you follow the directions in this after your students start populating into your schools. I would do this about like the first week or 2 of school. Go through the information here and make sure that your teachers are added to the students' records so correctly so they can actually see special education information. If your teachers are having problems posting, this teacher grade posting troubleshooting guide is really good. The first part of this document, the first few bullets are for you, the principal and the admin assistant, go through to make sure if the issue, check to see if the issue's on your side. And then after you've gone through and you've pushed it out to the sections, you made sure everything was okay, then it's up to the teacher to go through, starting on bullet number 4, to make sure that they have their stuff set up correctly on their side. So if you've got a teacher that's like, my grades aren't calculating, my grades aren't posting or whatever, this teacher grade posting troubleshooting guide is really, really good. Continuing on.
And I may be jumping ahead on this. So because we're talking about the posting of the grades, what do we do if, like, I'm going to have just 2 feeder schools at this school? What do we do if they're on different grading periods and there's different windows for them to I guess pull over?
Okay, that's a good question, Coy. So the thing about it is, sometimes you have to juggle, and that's like the last piece of all of this, is setting everything up, but also going to your grading window and making sure that your grading window is set up. So
could we do that ahead of schedule? Like, before, I understand completely before, weather, but, could we kind of go and be preemptive on that and set that up like the first window before, we get into the winter months?
You absolutely can. Just realize that there are some caveats when it comes to the KTS Data Exchange. So I'll go over those really quick. So school started and you want to, the grading window, you need to know, serves 2 purposes with the KTS Data Exchange. What the first one is, the purpose is you open up the grading window and it allows your teachers to post their grades. That's just a normal purpose of the grading window. But for the KTS Data Exchange, it also serves as the window that opens and allows your posted grade to sync over to the high school. So I used this analogy yesterday, and I use this analogy a lot, and I feel like it hits home with people. Think about it as your grade is a little bird that needs to fly out the window, and it's trying to get, like a pigeon, it's trying to get the message to its destination. Okay, so you opened up your grading window and allowed that pigeon to fly out of your window at the technical school. It's flying around overnight with the KTS Data Exchange, and it gets to the high school, and it's sitting outside and perched outside of its window, waiting for the high school to open up their window and let it come in. If the high school doesn't open it up on their side, it just sits out there and it doesn't do anything. So the high school has to utilize the grading window as well. So let's just say that if you notice here, all of these are old, closed schedules. Anything in red is closed. Anything in green means it's active. Anything in blue means it's in the future. For the KTS Data Exchange, you only want one active green schedule open per grading task at a time. So you wouldn't go in and set up your schedules to all be open at the same time, because that will not function. It will work and allow your teachers to post to it, but it will not function for the KTS Data Exchange. It won't allow those grades to sync. So I'm going to go ahead and go in here and set up. I'm going to do an add. And I'm going to select this for Gryffindor. And so I've selected my school, but I still have something to do. I have to select my term. I'm going to do this for term 4. Okay. Next. Now I have to select my date. I want it to open today's date. You can select whatever date. I've got these notifications up here because I don't have my calendar. This is a sandbox site and I don't have my calendar set up correctly. So just so you know. Then I can extend this close date out however far I want. So this is going to be for a term grade, and you want to keep that term grade open throughout the entirety of the term. So let's say my term actually ends on the 30th. So I'll just go ahead and put the 30th in there as my close date, and then I'll hit next. Now I have to select my grade levels. For the KTS Data Exchange, you do not want to select the specific grade level bullet. If you do that, it will not sync the grades. You have to just make sure that all grade levels are selected. And that goes for the high school side too. And I told them yesterday, whoever was on the call yesterday, if you go through and you select specific grade levels, it will not, for some reason, the program is created, the KTS program will not pick it up. It will not recognize that. So we have to make all grade levels selected. If your high school's having problems with your grade syncing, this is one thing to have them check for. Make sure that their schedules are set to all grade levels. Okay, so next. Now I'm going to select my grading task. So I want to open this for my CTE term grade. And I'm satisfied. I'm going to hit save. So now when I go back out to my grading window, I see I have an active schedule open for my CTE term grade for Q4. I can also open up an active schedule for my other grade term as well. I mean, my grading task as well. But like I said, I wouldn't have Q4 and Q3 open at the same time. Now, how this affects you, Coy, in your question, you're going to have districts that have different grading periods, different term schedules, and all that. And so sometimes this might call for you to go in and adjust these off and on periodically. So in answer to your question, if you want to go in and set these up in advance, you can set these up in advance. So here, I'll show you what it looks like if you set something up in advance. This one is closed. So I'm gonna create another one really quick for the final grade. And I'm going to make this one open for the future. For the CTE final grade. Okay. So I got my grading window in here. Now you see that's blue. That tells me that this is a future schedule. So you can go in and set up your future schedules, but chances are you're going to have to delete them and reopen them and redo the dates and all that anyways.
Because there's going to be differences.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So,
but I could at least set up the first one. And
absolutely.
already have kind of set up for the future.
Absolutely, you can. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you can set all of them up if you wanted to, just so you know, you're going to be going in there and adjusting them and, all of that. I mean, you're definitely going to be adjusting them. So let's say, what's your other district? I know it's Estill, and then who's the other?
Powell.
Powell. Okay. So let's say Powell, do you know Powell, if they're on a trimester, do you have any trimester?
No, I have no trimester, but they are
Okay.
on semester. Or I'm
Okay.
sorry, they're
Term.
on full year.
Okay. So let's say Powell, their first term ends on October 1st, but Estill's ends on September 15th.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we've got about a 2-week difference on starting time, so.
Right. So you have to communicate with them and say, this is when I appreciate when your all's ends. This is when mine ends. My teachers are going to post a final grade
Like 2 days before yours.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So that's where your communication comes into play. My teachers are going to post a final grade then. This is when you'll want to make sure that everything is open for you to receive a final grade, and sometimes you'll have to have a little bit of back and forth when it comes to the term grade for between like quarter 1 and quarter 2. You might have to, maybe you'll turn on for Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday for 2 weeks. You'll turn on quarter 1 to allow grades to sync to Estill because they're still on quarter 1. But then on Tuesdays and Thursdays, you'll turn on quarter 2 to allow the CTE term grade to sync to Powell because they've switched to term 2.
And then when everybody's kind of on the same term, then I just open it up.
Right.
Okay.
Or if your term, let's say, like I said, Powell's first term ends on 9/15. Estill's ends on 10/1, and yours ends on 10/1. So what you could tell Powell is that, well, these are my grading periods. This is when I'm, finished. So if you don't want,
when you say that I have my own, what does that mean necessarily?
Yeah, you have your own calendar. That's what you have to decide what your own grading window is going to be, or where your own terms are going to be. So
See, I thought you followed your schools.
you can. What normally people do is if they service 2 districts and one district sends them more kids, they'll adopt the district of the one that sends them the most kids. It just makes it easier for them. Some districts, like we have one technical school that services 10 different high schools in like 6 different districts. So there's a lot of juggling going on there.
Yeah. I mean, it's like when I was in Northern Kentucky, we had like 9 different feeder schools. So, and everybody was kind of on a different thing.
Yeah. So were you up at Campbell or?
I was in Kenton.
Kenton. Yeah.
At Patton before they changed and stuff.
Yeah. So, every technical school adopts their own period schedule, and their own term schedule. And most of the time they adopt the ones of the schools that send them the most students. Sometimes if it's like even, they'll come up with their own term dates. And they'll communicate those term dates to their feeder schools and say, this is when we're transitioning from quarter 1 to quarter 2. This is when we're issuing final grades, just so they know. Now, just because you're syncing a grade does not mean the high school has to receive the grade. If the high school, let's say Powell, and their quarter 1 ends on 9/15 and they don't want to receive any more updated grades after 9/15, they can turn their grading window off and not receive any until they're ready to start receiving quarter 2. So that's an option also. Any questions about the grading window? I feel like I've thrown you guys lots of information, and I know I have. Just trust that it really does kind of fall into place whenever school starts, and you have these resources here on the KTS Data Exchange webpage, and you have me. And sometimes it takes me a little while to get back to you because I'm only one person and I do help hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people. But I do always get back to you. Kim can attest to that. It might take a little bit, but I do. Okay, so under user resources, there's some other documents that are helpful. The student feeder school ad hoc query might be helpful for you guys to set up in your own account. This one is going to segregate students in a report by their high school, by the high school they attend. So if you need a report of kids that only go to PAL, you can do that by using the Student Feeder School ad hoc query. So that might be helpful. Then we have the Infinite Campus login. This is where the logins are to be able to get into our ATC Infinite Campus homepage. And then this is where the students and the parents will log in. This is their portal login. So the students and parents will have their own logins from the high school, but they'll have separate ones for our school too. And below are the instructions. You guys at your different high schools are charged with giving out the information in order to get those parents access. If they request access, you're the ones that has to provide them with the GUID number for their activation key. So here's an example of that real quick. So let's say Harry Potter comes in and says that he wants access to his child's records. He wants to be able to get into the portal. So you'll go to Harry Potter's, you'll go to search for all people and you'll go to Harry Potter. You'll go to his record and hang on, let me go to the view that you'll need. It should take you to the census record, census people, and the demographics page or tab. And so then what you'll do is you'll scroll down and under person identifiers. And the person GUID number is the number that you would give to the parent. Now you wouldn't give their students GUID number, you would give the parents GUID number. That's important to remember. If the parent is trying to log in, they need to log in under their own name and their own account, and their name should be in there. Their name syncs with the student data. So you would look up the parent's name, go to the parent's demographic tab, and give the parent's person GUID number. If the parent already has a portal account, it will show under here what their username is. In this case, this is actually a student, and so that's why you see a student SSID number listed here. Because for the students, I populate their accounts automatically whenever their enrollments are sync over from the high school, and their usernames are always their SSID numbers. And so the instructions for students is here, instructions for parents are here. And so this is how you would make sure your students and parents get on. And then another thing that you'll need to know is if you have a new teacher coming into your building, you have to add them into your database. And I don't do that. You guys do that. And so this is
so where I have we're all brand new staff. Would I do it for every single one?
Yeah. The only one, and what happens is, let me open this document. You have a brand new teachers coming in. This document's going to be your friend, so you can add those teachers in. So you'll start off. It goes.
This would also count for my admin assistant too,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, you can add her in. I can do it, or you can add her in, whichever one.
I'd love you forever if you did it this first time.
Now, what I need to do is, though, I will need to speak to her to get her date of birth and her social security number. Or if you want, you and her can sit down with this document and you guys can put her in together.
Okay, what we may do, because I'm going to have a meeting here in a little bit too, I'll get her to call. Are you going to be at your extension?
Well, I have classes the rest of the day,
Okay.
so I am not going to be available to. I'm going to try to look at Kim's issue, but I'm
Okay.
really not going to be available the rest of the day. She can email me and I can try to call her tomorrow,
Okay.
or you two can sit down with this document and put her in. So when you follow the directions to put the teacher or the admin person in,
Okay.
and then once you get to step 5 talks, if it's a teacher, how to add the teacher as the primary teacher to the sections. But then you keep going down. Step 6, this one right here, step 6, what you need to do here is just skip on down to where it says notify Tanya Fluke via email so I can assign rights. So after when you get to step 6, just email me. I've put so-and-so into the database, please assign rights. And then
Okay.
I will go in and I will create the user account and assign rights.
Okay.
And I will email you back with that information.
Okay.
So if you want to do that to get practice on adding your teachers.
Okay, that works.
Okay, guys, any other questions? I'm going to have to wrap things up. I know I've given you all a lot of information. Any other questions that you all have? Like
I'm sure we'll think of a lot, but I think we're okay right now.
Good, good. So, like I said, it's just going to be getting in there and working through it and doing it. And Kim, I'm going to try really, really hard to get in there and look at your user account issue. Did you email me what's going on?
Yeah, I emailed you earlier.
Okay, all right.
And for now, Dana, she can get onto it. So for now, we're just gonna work together and do it on her, so our feeder schools can have it for tomorrow.
Okay. All right, guys. Well,
the only other thing is, can you look to see why that 8th period is not showing up under the sections?
Oh yeah. Let me stop recording real quick and share my screen back again. Hang on.
Thank you.
You're welcome.